This is the Berman Method podcast featuring Dr. Jake Berman and physician assistant Jenni Berman. We are here to treat problems and not symptoms. Disclaimer, this podcast is for entertainment purposes only and not to treat anyone or to give medical advice. If you are interested in any information that we are giving and would like to use this for yourself, we recommend that you contact your primary care physician or reach out to us and ask us questions about yourself specifically. Enjoy.
And we're rolling, baby, rolling. December is here, and this is the Berman Method podcast.
We're back together. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a whole week and a half. We weren't here last week.
Well, I know, but the ones before that, we were separate. So it's actually been a while since we've actually been together.
Yeah, this is the first time that we've actually missed a week and had to do a replay last week for the first time in over a year.
That's true. Yes. Hope everybody enjoyed the replay. It's always good to go back, though, and hear something we've already heard before in a different way.
You know what's great about that is my business coach says it a lot. He says, the questions never change. It's the same questions over and over again. What does change is your answers.
Right.
So whenever he has a mastermind, there's always those people that says or asks, what's the content going to be? What's the content? What's the content? The content's irrelevant. Content's generally the same. We're going to say the same thing over and over again because maybe this time you'll be ready to hear it.
Or you understand it differently. So the perceptions change. So even though we're hearing similar answers each time, because it's being said a little bit differently, we're perceiving it and understanding it differently. So sometimes it hits the spot. The light bulb turns on by hearing it a little bit differently.
Yep.
So
here we are, the Berman Method podcast, where we are David going against Goliath, where Goliath is the corporate medical system, Western medicine. We do not believe they have your best interests in mind. We think that Big Pharma is pushing a lot of this. The insurance companies are pushing a lot of this on what kind of care you're able to get versus what you should be getting and need to get. And it's a problem. It's a big problem. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to spread awareness. We're trying to educate. There is another way. You do not have to do exactly what your doctor tells you to do.
right.
There's other ways. And I've said this multiple times. You don't have to do what I tell you to do. Question me. Go and get different opinions. Somebody's going to resonate with you. I probably don't resonate with everybody, but there is going to be somebody that resonates with you. So keep searching for answers until you find one. Mike, our GM right now, is a perfect example. Years ago, he was told that he had to have neck surgery. So he went and got a second opinion. And they said the same thing. You need to have neck surgery. So he went and got a third opinion. They recommended neck surgery. And he didn't like that answer. He thought there was a different way. So long story short, the seventh doctor that he went to recommended physical therapy.
7.
The seventh doctor recommended physical therapy. He's like, oh, haven't heard that answer yet. I'll give it a try. Gave it a try and avoided surgery altogether.
Wow.
The seventh doctor.
Right. And majority of the population would not be that persistent to look for something else that fits them. After the third time of being told you need to have surgery, they're going to be like, okay, well, which surgeon was the best and let's go for it.
Yeah.
And that's sad that it's sad that most people would do that when there is another, or likely is another answer that could prevent that from happening, like Mike was able to do finally.
Yeah. So that's what I wanted to get into a little bit today is identity. There's so many people in this world that use their ailments as their identity. For example, I can't tell you how many times out in public, I'll randomly be talking to somebody and they'll say, I've got a bad back. no, I can't do that because I've got a bad back. Man, I'd love to go do that with you, but my back would never let me.
Mm-hmm.
And the way they talk about their back is their back defines who they are.
Right. Dictates them.
Yeah, it dictates them versus, I'm Jake. I'm a strong guy. I can do whatever I want to. I'm strong, independent, all these other things versus, hey, my name is Jake. I got a bad back.
Right.
I would love to go and do all those things, but I've got a bad back.
It limits you.
Yes, it's very limiting. Same thing can be said for the weight gains. There's so many people out there that say, this is just my body type.
Right. It's my genetics.
Oh,
I got it from, my mom was this way, my dad was this way, my uncle was this way. It's just what it is. I've tried everything and nothing works. So this is just me.
yep. This is just my body type. I have a pear body type. I'll never be able to wear a dress like that because my body type.
Mm-hmm.
I will never be able to fit in a pair of those jeans or that style of jeans because it's my body type.
Right.
It's
But
like,
it
what?
does. Right. It doesn't have to be that way.
And here's what I want to do. I want to challenge you because we started off by saying that we're going to say the same thing over and over again. At some point, you will be ready to hear what we're saying, or your answer might be different this time versus the last time I asked you. And I know I said this multiple times. Do you plan on dying in the next year?
I hope the answer is no. Nobody plans on it.
Yeah. There shouldn't be anybody listening to this podcast who is planning on dying in the next year. So if you don't plan on dying in the next year, you plan on being alive 1 year from today, why wouldn't you want to be better a year from today than you are right now? And your definition of better could be anything, really. So if we stick with the bad back, what if a year from today, you were not as vulnerable as you are right now? You're not as fragile as you are right now. You're not as limited as you are right now. What would be an example in your line a year from today?
If I'm not as limited a year from now as I am today.
Yes.
Well, right now I have a lot of limitations with being 28, not 29
Not
weeks
you
pregnant.
personally. Jeez Louise.
Well, then I don't
Your
know.
clients.
Oh, so yeah.
Some clients that don't want to come see you because of their self-limiting beliefs. I'm always going to be like this. I'm always going to have limitations with my diet. I've got Crohn's disease. I can't go do these things. I've got Hashimoto's. I've got all these things. I've got this weight issue.
I've been thinking about somebody the whole time you've been talking about this podcast, actually. And I was actually thinking, well, maybe next week we'll talk about her, but I can get into it. A client with MS was told by one of her physicians that the diet's not going to change MS. It's just that's her diagnosis and she has to take the medication for it, and diet's not going to change it. And the example he gave is there's a book out by an author that has MS, and she presented one meal plan that she claims is going to work for anybody with MS. And I agree. That doctor was like, there's no way that the meal plan is going to work for everybody. And I agree with that. There's not one meal plan that is going to work for everyone that has MS. However, that does not mean that dietary changes cannot help each individually separately with MS. So where I'm going with this and what you were getting at is, yes, her diagnosis is MS, but the dietary changes and looking into sensitivities and looking into gut health and reducing overall inflammation can actually prevent or improve her limitations that she is having. But it's difficult when you've already been told by a specialist that the diet's not going to change it. So that kind of has been on my mind the whole time we've been talking about this, is her identity is MS, but it doesn't necessarily have to be that it's going to continue to progress and worsen if we can look into overall gut health and inflammation.
So let me say it from my layman's perspective is the diet might not necessarily change the demyelinization that's occurring due to MS.
Right.
But because we are not addressing the gut and we're just accepting the fact that it is what it is, I've been diagnosed with this, the total compound effects on her quality of life is, let's say, 10x. Versus if this person did focus on gut health and decreasing inflammation through dietary changes and really getting the gut going in the right direction, then maybe the total effects on quality of life would be 5x.
The quality of life, but also the progression of the disease of the demyelination. So yes, the demyelination is occurring or going to continue to occur, but could we decrease the progression of it because the nerves are communicating better, because there's less inflammation, because our vitamins are actually where they should be, our gut health is improving enough to we're actually absorbing our nutrients to provide the right vitamins to support nerve health and neuron health.
Got it.
So so it goes into quality of life, but it's also the process and the progression of disease. And that goes with any autoimmune disease. We're not curing anything. We're reversing and we're slowing progression. So again, back to what we were talking about, because we want to stay on topic here, not veer to one disease specifically, but when we're given a diagnosis, that becomes our identity, and it doesn't have to be our identity. We want to look at what can we do to reverse it and decrease the progression of these specific diseases to improve our overall quality of life.
Right. A year is a long time, and a year is a short time. It's one of those things where in this day of Amazon and Prime delivery, you go online, you press the button and you order something, and the next day it shows up on your doorstep. We've really gotten into this habit, or this, what's the right word? This flaw. It's really a flaw of immediate gratification. As soon as I buy something, it shows up the next day. Great. I don't have to wait on anything anymore. And it's really starting to overflow into our health. So if we continue using all of these examples, back pain, I've got a bad back, I've had a bad back for years. So many people think that just because whatever intervention they tried didn't work in a day, a week, a month, or even 3 months, that it's not going to work. Same thing is true. I know it's true in your line of work as far as gut health goes. You're not going to fix somebody's gut in a month.
Right. Especially when they've been dealing with it for 20 years. They've been dealing with progression and worsening symptoms over 20 years. And it's not going to be fixed in a month. It takes time.
All of your programs generally start out with 12 weeks. And 12 weeks is just a start.
Right.
There's so many times that you have clients come in and after 12 weeks, they're feeling significantly better. So they think that they're done with you. But in actuality, the reality of it is you're just getting started.
Right.
This really needs to be going on for a year, because how in the heck are you going to reverse 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 years worth of damage in 12 weeks?
Right.
You just can't do it.
And it's very difficult for people to understand when their damage actually started, because they didn't feel it happening 20 years ago. They've only felt it in the past 8 months that they're feeling the way they are. But, that's what we have to explain is this has been going on, like I tell you all the time, all the sugar you're eating in your 20s and 30s is setting you up for your 50s and 60s. Or all the processed food that we ate through college, all the gluten that we had, all of we start out with autoimmune diseases at such a young age, and we just continue to cause damage to our gut health. But unfortunately, we don't feel the effects until much, much later. And then it takes so much time to be able to reverse it. But it is reversible. Don't forget that. It is.
Yeah.
So, but, to come back where we started is, where do we want to be a year from now? And something else that we always say is, if we're not progressing, we're regressing, right? So if I'm not...
I have it in giant wall words on one of my walls because Albert, one of our PTs, said, this is it. This is what it is. If you don't want to, after you finish a plan of care with us, you come 15, 20, 30 visits, and let's just say you're a snowbird, you're down for season, and April and May rolls around and you head back north and you're like, okay, I'm good. My back feels better. I'll see you next fall when I get down here. It doesn't work that way, because you're not going to be doing things 100% perfectly a month from now. You're really not going to be doing it 100% perfectly 3 months from now. So if you're not progressing, you're regressing.
Right. If you're not stronger tomorrow than you are today, we're moving backwards, because we're getting older. Every day we're older. Every day our body is different. So if we are not doing things better each day and working at it each day, we're essentially regressing.
Right. So a year is a long time, but a year is also a short amount of time. So everybody listening to this has something that they're using as an excuse, or something they're using as a motivation. You have a bad back, you have a bad knee, you have plantar fasciitis, you have shoulder pain, you have neck pain. You're overweight, you're weak, you hate going to the gym, you hate exercising, you hate eating healthy. All of these things are either your crutch, your excuse, or your motivation, depends on how you look at it. You really need to start looking at a year from now. So everybody listening to this right now, play along with me and just say, I want you to imagine yourself a year from now. That one thing that is limiting yourself today, what's limiting you right now? As you're listening to this, what is it? Is it your back? Is it your knee? Is it your gut health? Is it your Crohn's? Is it your autoimmune disease? What's limiting you today? And now look at yourself a year from today. What would your life look like a year from today if this thing was not limiting you? The back is the easiest one. This lady I just spoke to 3 weeks ago, we did a talk at her country club a month or two ago, and she finally called me a few weeks after that talk, and she said, okay, I went through your book, and I need some help right now. She's got back issues, and her daughter had just got married. Her son or her daughter just got married, and she just overheard them talking about trying to get pregnant. And this is what flashed in her mind. She goes, oh my gosh, what is going to happen when I have a grandbaby and I can't get down on the ground and play with that grandbaby because my back is so bad? Mm-hmm. How am I going to get that grandbaby in and out of the crib? So when we're first having the conversations and she's talking about this, I'm going, oh, congratulations. When's the baby due? And she goes, it's not due. I'm just trying to envision myself. How am I going to be able to enjoy my grandkid when it ultimately does come? And right now, there's no way that I could do it. There's no way I could get down on the ground, but it wouldn't be pretty getting back up. Mm-hmm. Those were her words exactly. So she did exactly what I'm asking you to do right now. Project yourself or envision yourself a year from now. And what does life look like if you don't have this limiting thing?
Right.
And then work your ass off to get it. It's
right.
not going to be fast. It's not Amazon. We're not Amazon Prime. Right. This isn't an injection or a pain pill. That's what we're trying to avoid. So it's not going to happen overnight. I want you to imagine 6 months. If you do one small positive thing for 6 months, you're going to see a big result versus trying to do a whole bunch in a short amount of time. Then you get exhausted, tired, and it usually doesn't work and it usually doesn't last. But if you make one small positive change and you keep doing it over and over again, 6 months later, you're going to see a significant change. 12 months later, you're going to go, oh my gosh, I'm completely different today than I was a year ago.
Right. Doesn't have to be a complete 180 from one night to the next. Just making, like you said, small changes each week. And that's one thing why we see our clients every week, is to have the ability to make small, modifiable, adjustable, doable changes each week. Because if we do those week in and week out, then we're going to be light years ahead where we are 3 months from now, where we are today. And it's not going to be an overwhelming experience if we're making small changes each week. It's going to be only positive.
Right. So let's go on. Let me give a different analogy as far as this is not Amazon Prime. This doesn't happen overnight. Anything that you really want that's benefit, or anything that's worth something that you're going to have to work for. What is the one thing that's defining your life right now? Is it back pain? I love using back pain because so many people can relate to it. And then look a year from now, what does your life look like if you don't have that back pain? Okay, now how are we going to get there? This is the important part. You can get there the easy way or the hard way. Most people choose the hard way. The hard way is trying to figure it out on your own. The hard way is searching through YouTube and the internet and Google and trying to figure out things on your own. Versus the smart way is let somebody guide you through it that's done it 1,000 times.
Right.
That's what we do. Back pain is our bread and butter. I mean, it is the simplest thing that we deal with every single day. It's 75% of the caseloads that we work with in the physical therapy clinic is back pain. We could do it in our sleep. It is so simple, not easy, but it is so simple that if you've got back pain, you need to come see us, because you are going to have the best chance at avoiding pain pills and surgery if you let us guide you through it. But if you try to figure it out on your own, if you try to go to Dr. Google or Dr. WebMD and YouTube, you're going to have trial and error. You're going to try something and it's not going to work. That's going to take a certain amount of time, and you could easily go years down this road trying to figure it out on your own versus just come to us. We've been doing it forever. We know how to do this. We've seen it every which way.
Yes, I agree with that. And not only is it going to take years and essentially waste time, but a lot of people get frustrated, and then that's when they end up just living that identity. Like, I've tried everything and it's not working. But when you actually use professionals and use guidance and use accountability and help, it makes a world of difference.
Everybody knows a professional athlete, or at least the majority of people listening to this has some professional athlete that they admire, respect, or at least know of. There's not a single professional athlete on this planet that doesn't have a coach. Not a single one. All the best professional athletes in the world have a coach. Every single one of them. Golf, for example. There's not a single golfer on the tour that doesn't have a regular session with their coach every single week, if not every single day. There's not a single one. You can't do it on your own. You just can't. So these guys, they're the best of the best in the entire world. If they can't do it on their own, what chance do we mere mortals have to do it on our own? We can't.
It's the same with business. Business owners have coaches. Same in our area. There's so many diets out there on the internet, so many articles, so many different opinions out there. How do you know what's going to be the best thing for you? And a lot of times what I tell our clients is we deal with many different types of diets, and we have to identify what's going to work, or type of meal plan is going to work best for each individual. And we actually base it off of history, medical history, blood work, analysis, and the fact that we've been doing it for so many years. We're able to usually base their medical history and lab work in the patient's goals and figure out which dietary plan is going to be best for them, rather than just going off of a one-size-fits-all meal plan off of the internet.
Yeah, that's the one thing that drives me nuts. Every single time somebody questions you, what is different about your program than the Atkins diet or the South Beach diet or the paleo diet or the carnivore diet, all these diets. Okay, well, before you chose to do that diet, did you look at the intrinsics that is going to make that diet work or not work for you? Meaning, like, what does your blood work say? What does your medical history say? Because you can look at all those things. You see it all on paper and you're like, okay, based off of your medical history here, this diet is not going to work for you. It's actually going to make things worse.
Right.
It may be the popular thing right now and everybody's talking about it. And this diet may work great for your best friend or your spouse, but it is going to be horrible for you.
We do a lot with that with intermittent fasting. People will come to me and be like, intermittent fasting has worked for my friend and I'm trying it and I'm failing. And for especially those with insulin resistance or pre-diabetes or diabetes, intermittent fasting is not going to work for you. So again, it depends on the person, the individual, their goals, and you have to have a professional that is knowledgeable on it, be able to look into it and guide you on what's going to be the best for you. And unfortunately, a lot of mainstream Western medicine doctors, primary care doctors don't know enough about these different types of meal plans or diets and don't have the time to educate you, even if they do know, on the right diet for you. So looking into a professional that treats individuals with nutrition and dietary meal plans day in and day out is going to be the best option.
Yes.
So who you are today does not have to be who you are a year from now. Even if you stay who you are today, a year from now, you're actually worse.
Yeah, right? Because you're not progressing, you're regressing. Exactly. There's not a single thing on this planet that is alive that maintains balance. You're either growing or you're dying. You're either progressing or you're regressing. There's not a single thing on this whole entire planet that's alive that just does nothing as far as maintaining. Look at it. Any example, look at trees. Trees are either growing or they're dying. Trees are perfect examples. You're either growing or you're dying.
Humans are like trees.
Humans are like trees. We're growing to age, 30 or something? Physically or biologically, then technically you start dying. But there's all these other things that you can do to start preventing it or delaying it or reverse the effects of it. So what do you want to do? Do you want to keep dying for the next year or do you want to be better in the next year? So let's leave everybody with that. Envision what your life would look like a year from today if your major limiting factor was not one a year from today. Everybody listening to this has one. Every single person has one. Whether you admit it to yourself, whether you admit it to others, you have something. I've got plantar fasciitis. I got a weak knee. I got a bad hip. I've got a bad shoulder. Whatever it is, what would your life look like a year from today if you didn't have that? What would you do?
Right. And the other thing to think about right now is what are you going to do about it? Start now. Don't wait until January 1st.
I'll just wait.
Don't wait until January 1st because every day that you're regressing. Yeah. So decide now, who are you going to reach out to as your guide, as your accountability, as your help, as your knowledge base to start tackling your limitation so we can start progressing today and not 3 weeks from now.
Yeah, don't wait till January 1st because both of us are going to be slammed in January 1st. And there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be calling and saying, okay, I'm excited. I'm really wanting to do this. And I'm going to say, okay, I'll see you in March because we're slammed. It's not going to happen. So if you want to do this, give us a call now. And here's another thing. I'm going to go ahead and boast for a minute. How many people are you trying to get help from that have written a book?
That's true.
Between the two of us, we have 3 books.
Yeah.
So who are you currently getting help from that hasn't written a book? I'm boasting right now, but you got to be pretty confident in what you're preaching to write a book because it's in print.
Right. It's published.
Now you're open to criticism. Open to critics. That was my biggest limiting factor in writing my first book was, what are my peers going to say? I'm like, finally, my business coach is like, screw them. Why do you care what they say? It's not for your peers. It's for your clients.
Right.
They're the ones that don't know what's happening. So write the book for them.
Mm-hmm. We will. We'll link our 3 books on the show notes of this podcast. And so if you are unsure still at this point, which you shouldn't be, but if you are, go on Amazon and get the books and start reading them, whether it's one of Jake's books, Physical Therapy or Golf, or if it's mine, which is more related to metabolic health, nutrition health, weight loss, gut health, hormone balance. So go on and find which book you need to read and start reading it. And maybe go ahead and call us at the same time, but then start reading it until you come in. They're both easy reads. I mean, we've had clients read both of our books in a day before they come in to see us. So
yeah. Very easy reads, airplane reads, get through them. Very beneficial. Will not waste your time. I promise you, you'll finish these books and you'll be like, okay, that was not a waste of my time.
Right. You'll learn something
good
about you. Yeah.
Okay. We're together again next week.
Yes.
And that's going to be our Christmas episode.
I know. I can't believe Christmas is almost here.
Christmas.
I hope everybody's done shopping.
Oh, yeah. Oh, wait. I didn't start yet.
Yeah, you have one person to buy for and you haven't started yet.
Okay, cool.
Ciao.
Until next time.
Ciao for now. Thank you for subscribing on your social media and podcast platforms to the Berman Method. Dr. Jake Berman with Berman Physical Therapy and Jenni Berman, Physician Assistant with Berman Health and Wellness. You can find more information on our website, www.bermanpt.com for physical therapy, bermanpt.com/wellness for the health and wellness. You can also find us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and on your podcast platform. So be sure to follow us, like us, subscribe to us. And if you would like any further information, definitely visit our website and reach out to us. You may also find our free reports on the websites as well, where you can download this free information for yourself. Have a great day.